Hi all, in this short video we're going to cover the 3 most important questions you need to ask yourself for you to get your dream garden. They are, number 1, what do you want out of the space? Number 2, let's face it, it's going to come down to cost. Number 3, aftercare and maintenance, what's the 10-year plan for your garden space? So yes, back to number 1. Number 1 is essentially more of a wish list than a question that you need to ask yourself, but you do have to consider things like your site's location, like the aspect, so is it south facing, north facing, southeast facing, what's the typography of the land around you, do you have shelter belts, have you considered your soil quality, are you coastal, are you inland, do you live up the mountain, are you in a suburban setting, are you in a rural setting, does maybe your wish list contain things that maybe doesn't actually match the aesthetic of your house, and if so, how are you going to work around that? And then there's your actual wish list, the things that you want yourself. Do you want a swimming pool? Do you need an area for a hot tub? Are you a parent? Do you have small kids? Do you need an area for kids' toys? Are you a dog owner? Maybe you have multiple dogs. Do they need an area for the garden? Do you want it all soft landscaping? Do you want it all hard landscaping? Do you need an area for dining? Is that area close to your kitchen? If not, how are you going to make it accessible? Maybe you're going to have an outdoor kitchen. The list is endless, but you need to make that wish list, sort of assess your space, think about what you really want out of that space, and then see what is the most achievable. Okay, so that nicely brings us into cost then. People hate talking about cost, they hate talking about how much money things cost, but I'm not going to lie to you, gardening is expensive, and as a rule of thumb, you need to factor anywhere between 10 to 12% of your property value as a rough guide to give you an idea how much your dream garden project is going to cost. Reason for that being is hard landscaping, the more hard landscaping you have, is always going to be more expensive than any of your soft landscaping. Reason being, these materials have to last 20 plus years. It's something you're going to have to look at for a long period of time. You need to factor in your drainage, you need to factor in your paving contractor, you need to factor in, maybe you have to adjust a level, subtract a level, and then just the lay-in fee of that itself, the installation cost. And realistically, this is not like painting a wall in the inside of the house where, if you paint a wall and you don't like the colour, maybe in a year's time you can change it. You really have to pick well once. It's not something you will do all the time. It does have to last a considerable amount of time, so you're going to want something that doesn't date very quickly as well. You then have to factor in your soft landscaping, which is also expensive, but slightly less expensive than hard landscaping. As a rule of thumb, it is always a good idea to bring a garden designer on board, or a gardener, or somebody who really knows the aspect of your site, your soil conditions, light levels, frost pockets, etc. Because this way they're going to pick the best plants for you if you don't know how to pick them yourself, and it's always good to have good continuity with that. It probably will seem like a big purchase at the time, but honestly, doing it right once is far better than doing it bit by bit and getting it wrong somewhere in between. So yeah, that is something that I would say. People have this misconception that, plants should be free, or that plants don't cost that much. Plants can be a costly part of the garden process. And then lastly, that brings us very nicely into maintenance and aftercare. So even if your brief is a low maintenance garden, you don't want maintenance, there's still maintenance with that. So for example, you will still have to power wash a patio even if it's porcelain. So there will be maintenance with whatever hard landscape finish you go with. Even your evergreens, if you pick really low maintenance evergreen shrubs, occasionally they are going to need pruned. So do you need to factor in a shed? Do you need to factor in somewhere where you're going to store a power washer? Maybe you need to keep a hedge trimmer or garden shears. That might be, storage might be a thing that you need to factor in. Generally speaking, do you want gardens with lots of flowers? Maybe you want lots of colour all of the time. Are you going to deadhead your garden? Are you going to employ a full-time gardener after you've purchased this project? Have you got a maintenance plan from your gardener that's maybe picked out plants for you? This is something that you might need to ask, because plants might be okay for the first 3 to 4 years, but then they might require maintenance after that, so you might need to factor that in. So lastly, those are my 3 top questions that you need to consider for your dream garden. Number 1, the wish list. What do you want out of the space? Number 2, cost. How much are you prepared to spend, and does your wish list reflect your budget? And lastly, 3, aftercare, maintenance. How much work are you going to put in yourself? Do you need to employ somebody else to look after the space for you? Those are my 3 top questions. I'm also going to link below other videos that are relevant to this topic, so please see below for more details. Until next time, bye.